Are we live? We are live. Hello, everyone, the wide world. My name is Peter Hartman. I'm here with my brother, the exceptional Tom Hartman. How you doing, Tom?
I'm great, and welcome to our inaugural episode of Sacred Profit Daily, where we take sacred names and turn them into
No,
taken profits.
no. It's not any inaugural nothing, okay? This is Jumpstart Live. You're watching Jumpstart Live. Just for the record, we're streaming right now to Facebook, to the Happy for a Change page, and to the Happy for a Change audience. Most of what we do is for you, the Happy for a Change audience, but I gotta let you know, this is going to be one of, maybe even the last episode we'll be streaming onto Facebook. We're also streaming onto YouTube. So you want to head over to youtube.com/happy for a change and subscribe if you want to stay up to date with the content that we're putting out. Not only is it going to be Bad Guru Nightly, not only are we going to have interviews and great conversations, but we've got Jumpstart Live, whose purpose is to help you to jumpstart your life. You're going into business, you want to develop who you are, you want to understand who you are as a person, you want to understand the world, get exposed to great ideas. Jumpstart Live is a salon between Tom and myself. I'm a motivational consultant, an entrepreneur. Tom is a something.
Programmer and marketer, you know this.
He's a programmer marketer. He's really good. And you get to listen in onto our conversations in a way that will improve your life. It's not some boring class that you're going to be sitting in, although we might have to do some boring class at some point. But here you can get an organic education, learn as you go, ask questions, make comments. We're here for you. If you didn't know it, we've got a Telegram group where you can chat with us as well as group audio chats. Just to be a part of that, all you got to do is go over to patreon.com/happy for a change and become a patron. For as little as $5 a month, you can join the Jumpstart Live Telegram group and get direct access to us. All right. So it's a great thing, great value, $5 a month. I mean, we really should be charging $100, but you're worth it. You're worth it. All right. Today we're going to be talking about fear of starting, and we're also going to be talking about. We changed the title. So what was the second part of the title again?
Hype exceeds value.
Scam warning signs. All
That's
right.
right.
So sometimes businesses they're putting out hype instead of offering true value. There's all kinds of stuff that goes into that. Tom's going to be talking about the warning signs associated with scams and how to know. Hey, is this product or service for you? Should you leave it? Should you become an Avon lady? Who knows?
Give me 1 second. I think I need to close some programs because you're going a little bit slow for me.
All right.
2 seconds.
While we wait for Tom to deal with his computer, I'm going to let you know Tom is wearing a beautiful charcoal pinstripe suit with a white something shirt with a Hermes tie. That's a Hermes.
Peter, you're embarrassing me. I didn't want you to mention that. I can't believe you actually said that. Goodness gracious. I'm flush.
Anybody who knows what a Hermes tie is knows that Tom is looking sharp today. He's looking good.
I'll tell you the reason I like this, okay? All right. I wear this tie all the time. Now, I don't have a million ties. What I like about this tie is that it's reversible 4 ways. So there's the red side, the gray side, the black side, and the blue side. So I just keep switching this up. And I just love it. It's a square bottom. And there's like a resale market for Hermes products because they really go out, and then they're sort of like that style is sort of gone. In fact, I've only saw like 4 other ties of this type of design and quality. So I'm like, I like clothes like that. I got clothes that like the Fluvog shoes. You buy it and it's worth something later on in an aftermarket. Plus, it feels so good. Oh, I love this burgundy.
Feels good.
Matches my car. Yeah. It's great.
I found this in a dumpster outside. You could tell it looks.
I was going to say it looked like you found it in a dumpster.
I paid $3, not for the shirt, but I paid $3 to get into the fight with the hobos. Whoever won didn't have to wear the shirt, so I lost. So there you go. That's my $3. All right. Fear of starting, Tom. That's what I want to talk about here today. We're doing Jumpstart, and we're encouraging people in order to go out there, to start their businesses, to try new things, to develop themselves. Getting to crypto, start that YouTube channel, do a side hustle. But I don't know that we've addressed yet, the real barrier to starting. The real barrier to starting, not necessarily the access to the information. The real barrier to starting is what's happening on the inside. People afraid, right? People afraid of cats. All right, it's fearful. Do you find it fearful for you when you're starting projects and things? You started your Sacred Profit channel. Is that Do you find things like this
I
fearful?
have a similar thing. I get stuck in it. I have too many ideas, and I worry that if I go down one path, um, it'll never be perfect, or I'll be disappointed that I didn't do a different idea. And so I just end up not doing anything at all, thinking to myself, better not to do anything than to start something and then be disappointed later.
Better not to do anything. Better not to do anything than to start something and be disappointed later. And honestly, that's where I'm at. Okay, it's not. It's the fear of starting is more about the fear of failing publicly, the fear of embarrassment. I'll tell you the biggest hurdle I ever have. I still have like the biggest thing I ever have to deal with when it comes to starting something new or pushing myself or putting myself out there is the embarrassment that you feel if it doesn't work out. I've started a lot of things in the past 10, 15 years, a lot of them quite public, quite public. I got a message from a guy who came to an event a few years ago, and he said, "Hey, Peter, how's it going? Oh my God, why aren't you famous yet? Why haven't you blown up?" Like the amount of people were like, "What the heck,
Yeah, I heard
Peter?
about
What
this.
what's going on? Why aren't you to the moon yet?" And it hurts. It hurts a little bit to be like, for people to see you, especially if you have potential and it's obvious that you're talented. And it's like, well, where's your success? Like, where is it supposed to be? Now, when it comes to me on my level, I've achieved that success to the degree that I've always wanted, but not to the degree that other people might want it to be, might suggest it to be. So it kind of hurts. It hurts to be like out in public and doing things. We do videos, it got 0 views.
Right.
Like, how many people could do over and over one, two, three, zero? For it's like, obviously, I'm doing something wrong, but someone you're talking to someone in business. Oh, let me check out your YouTube page. You're like, no, 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 don't go check out my
Right.
YouTube page. I got 65 subscribers. It could be a little hard, but the thing that I work on the most, and I have worked on the most, and that has made the most impact was not only to not worry about being embarrassed, but kind of like in, uh, allow yourself to be embarrassed. Like embarrassment is part of what kind of gives you the motivation to keep going and to do better. And there's nothing wrong with being feeling embarrassed, and then you survive it. That's the weird part. Like a lot of the things we're worried about, if you were to experience them, Tom, you've experienced this, right? I saw you on stage, comedy stage, bombing,
Yeah, that's right.
right? Your first time bombing. I remember
No,
sitting at comedy.
the first time I bombed, but not it wasn't the first time I did stand up.
No, but the
The
first
first
time you
time I
bombed,
bombed was so
because
painful.
the first time we did stand up, it went well. Like
It went well, yeah.
it went decently. We did it like 2, 3 times, and then like the third or fourth time, whoo boy, right? And you bombed, and oh man, uh,
Peter,
I
seeing people take out their phones to scroll through because they're like, I'm not even gonna give this guy any attention. I'm just gonna go on Google see whatever's on my newsfeed. I couldn't believe seeing a third of the people pull out their phones to do this. Just check out, like I'd rather not even sort of hear what this person has to say. I got off that stage, I was like, I have never. It's like if you were sleeping with someone and they just got up and walked out. Not they didn't leave. They just turned on the TV and started watching TV. They didn't say anything to you.
That's
They
right.
just, oh, we're done, I guess. All right, and they're like, yeah, finish up, whatever. And when you're done, you just let me know. So painful.
It's
But
painful. I
more
mean,
painful was the 30 years I spent before not doing stand up because I was too scared to do it. I was just too worried. I was like, what if I'm not funny and what if I can't do it? I was like, I'd rather nurse this idea than to prove that I can succeed. And it was only when Baron was he was going to be born.
your
I
son.
My son was going to be born. I was like, if this kid turns to me and when he's 10 and goes, I had a moment in Back to the Future where Marty McFly wants to be a musician, but he can't bear being a musician because he goes, what if I fail? What if I'm not good? What if people don't like me? And then he goes back in time, and his father says the same thing to him. His father doesn't want to put out books that he wrote, sci-fi books that he wrote, because he goes, what if it sucks? And what if people don't like me? And I was like, oh my God, I can't have this conversation with Baron in the future. He says, I'm too scared to do something that I really want to do. I'm afraid what everyone will think. I'm afraid I'm not going to be good at that. I wouldn't be able to tell him,
Mhm.
do it anyway.
Hmm.
because I would have failed. I
Okay.
would not have done the thing that I always wanted to do. So I was like, I got if I can't do it for myself, I got to at least do it for him, and that was the thing that got me over the hurdle. I finally did it. But for me, I feel the same way. Like I rather put out a video that gets 0 views than no video.
Now that I've gone into the habit of doing it, I feel the same way. But there is something you talked about how painful it was the 30 years before you did stand up, but you know, a quiet pain that's just you, I find is easier to deal with than a public pain that is viewed by everyone else. Uh, I can imagine going 30, 60 years without doing anything, without pursuing my dreams and feeling miserable, but being able to tolerate that misery a lot better than out there in public in front of people. Tom, uh, so Sam, she tells me, she suggests to me, hey, go apply for this TEDx talk. Okay, go to apply for this TEDx talk. It was a couple years ago. And just the thought of doing that, of applying for it, I was like, this is
You're a wreck.
I was like, I was like, no, there's no way I'm doing this. There's no way I'm doing it. I'm not doing it. Like, what's the point? I'm going to go up on stage and totally bomb in front of, I was like, I'm not that type of guy. I'm a guy, I talk off the cuff, extemporaneously. I'm good in a room with a small crowd or something like that, or one-on-one. But on stage, publicly, being filmed, being exposed to thousands and thousands, maybe even millions of people, I was like, who needs that stress, right? There's something about having something on the docket that's gonna, like, I was like, oh, in 6 months you're gonna do this thing. Oh, so you just ruined my 6 months. Is what I'm about to do now. The day of the deadline, like hours before the deadline, Sam finally convinces me to do this thing.
Right.
So I pick up
Right.
my phone, and I have to record. Part of the application process is you have to record this video in order to explain your idea. This 2-minute video. Tom, if you give me an hour, I'm happy. If you give me 2 minutes for perfection or whatever the thing I have to communicate in 2 minutes, is like, oh my God, it's like so stressful. So it took me, Tom, guess how many video tries I had to do? How many 2-minute video tries I had to do in a
I
row?
remember it was something that you're churning and churning and
Like
churning over.
30 videos.
Yeah.
Like 30 videos, maybe 32 videos I did. Almost giving up every single time. This is even before, this is the application to the
Right.
TEDx talk.
That's
This is
right.
the application.
Yeah.
I'm miserable. Tom, I have to stop. I'm sweating like crazy. I got to change my clothes. It's just absolutely terrible. Then I apply. Then I get accepted.
And then your nightmare is when you get accepted.
I thought the nightmare was over when I had finished that video. I was like,
Yeah.
there's no way it's going to take me. There's no way it's going to take.
That's
They
right.
took me. So then I have to prepare to go on the stage. And Tom, it was one of the worst experiences, the whole thing throughout
You
my
would
life.
come back to the practices just completely dejected, like that you failed so badly that
Tom,
people look at you like, why is this guy even
Oh,
here?
Tom, I went up. On. Okay, so I go do the rehearsal. Okay, so we're dealing with our coach and we're writing things out. Okay, fine. Then I was done. Now it's like, 2 months before the thing, a month before the thing starts. So I go do a rehearsal on stage. Now, I, I thought I'm just gonna go do the rehearsal for the judges in the room, whatever. We walk into this university or private high school, or whatever. This is big freaking place. And then I walk down the corridor. I find the room. It's a huge hall that fits like 200 people or something.
Is it the same room we were in eventually?
No. This is a completely different
I see,
place.
I see, I see.
200 people, 300 people. I don't know how many. Just a huge auditorium. It's empty. There's 3 judges sitting in front of you, American Idol style. I mean, Tom, you know this as a comedian. You go up on
Right.
stage, empty chairs. You're performing to empty chairs.
No
I mean, there's
energy
almost nothing
there. Yeah.
worse. I'd
Yeah.
rather do it. I mean, anyway. So it's 3 judges, cameras, 1, 2, 3 cameras, judges, all the equipment guys. Everybody's there, but it's there's no audience besides these people, and they're just there to critique your thing. So then I do my
It was
talk,
an
and
SNL, or you had an SNL audition, is what you had. You had
that's
an
right.
SNL audition.
So I do the audition for TEDx, and Tom, it is dog shit. I mean, it is so bad. I can't remember. I have the ADHD, so I'm losing my train of thought. My thing wasn't good. I tried to do it in a way that was like TED,
Right.
but not like me.
Uh-huh.
Like I didn't do it the way I am. I tried to do it the way I thought it was supposed to be done. So it's totally disconnected from me. It's discordant. My coach is there, like, oh my god, I can see the people. It's like, oh my god, the faces of them are like, we can't put this guy up on stage, but whatever. I mean, we
Right.
committed it. We can't take him back now. Reneg.
Right. You're in
Uh,
all the advertising. You're part of the there because they're promoting the profiles of the different people online.
that's
They're
right. That's right.
so it's like,
Exactly.
where's this guy? It's gonna be like, and then a bunch of people applied. So if you didn't show up, it'd be like, wait, there's a spot available, and you guys cut this. It would have been a blemish on them.
That's right. We got a comment here. Someone that says, "I love your TEDx talk." Oh, thank you. I don't know who commented that. Let me go see who commented that here. If you're in the, oh, let me turn that on. If
Yeah, if
you're
you're in
in
the
the
Facebook
group,
group, you can't see
then
your
we can't
username,
see your name because
unfortunately.
it's private. But I can see it. Oh, Joanne. Hi, Joanne. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad that you liked my TEDx talk. So on the day, okay, so one of the problems, I have ADHD, I can't remember my memory, I can't remember things, but I also have this condition called hyperhidrosis. It's just extreme sweating. You've never seen anybody sweat like this, okay?
It's
You've never seen
amazing.
anybody sweat like this. I peruse videos online of people nervously doing things just to see somebody else who looks like me who's sweating buckets on stage.
Right.
I went to high school in Mexico to speak, and I spoke to a classroom of 16-year-olds, and I was sitting on the desk. I was like, there's pictures of me online. I left a full on pool of sweat on the table. Like these kids were like, oh, "What the hell's
Well,
wrong
when
with
you
you?"
used to do the talks in Montreal, you would bring changes of clothes. You would have to have rags to wipe yourself down. That was a major thing you needed to you need to be prepared for it because it was just unbelievable.
Oh, so
It's the
bad.
amount of
Oh,
sweat.
Joanne said that she liked my TEDx talk, but it was actually Diane. Thank you, Diane. I really appreciate that. I love hearing that people like it. I really appreciate that. Who's commenting here? It was hot. Who was this? This is
In Mexico, has to be
in Mexico. Maybe Sam, but
has to
I
be
don't know.
Sam. Yeah.
Probably. Anyway, so the day of the TEDx, Tom, I am petrified. Okay, the word petrified it's from my name. My name Peter is from the family Petrified. Petros in Greek means rock. Okay, Peter, rock, right? Jesus, the rock I will build my church on, like rock,
Right.
Petros. So petrified, I was like my namesake. Like I was terrified, and I'm pacing backstage. There's a specific coach that's there to kind of get us calm before we go on stage. He's looking at me like, "Are you okay?" So all along that journey, I could have quit at any time.
Mhm.
Like I could have just said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to do this." I think somebody did quit or leave for whatever reason, not because they're afraid. Um, all along that journey, the pain that I was feeling, I knew was gonna be eclipsed by the pain I was gonna feel on the day. Like
That's
once it's done and I've done the disaster, like it'll be 10 times,
right.
100 times worse than whatever I was experiencing. So I'm just this dread. But I'm a motivational speaker, so I apply what I talk about to my life, and I push myself through it. And that's kind of what I want to talk about here today, where people tend to think that people who are doing things aren't afraid,
That's right.
and they are.
Hmm.
But the truth is that you can do it because there's no fear. You do it despite the fear. It's pushing through despite the fear, despite the embarrassment, despite the worry. And you have to do that not just once, but a few times to realize that when you come out the other end, no matter how it goes, you survive. Generally speaking, you survive it. Like most people don't care about you and your life, and they're not thinking about you. Okay, and most it's a second like, oh, that guy's a loser, and move on. Like they're not spending any time thinking about it. Like I sit in my house going, oh my god, everybody thinks I'm so terrible. But nobody's thinking about you. They're worried about their own selves. Like
That's right.
they're worried about their own securities. Anyway, short story long, I get on the TEDx stage and I do the talk, and it goes
Peter,
pretty
you do
well.
such an amazing job. I mean,
Thanks.
without even it being close, you were one of the best speakers that night.
I
People
really
were
liked
like, "Holy Lord,
I really liked
what
a lot of the
was
speakers,
this?"
but I thought I did a good job.
Yeah,
But
they were
Tom,
good speakers, but you were top tier for sure. Like,
but go
not
watch that.
even a question. But you were sweating during it, and you
Yeah,
even
go watch the
refer to
video.
it.
Yeah, that's right. Go watch the video. I'm sweating. I'm literally trying to
Your shirt's getting darker as you're up
surreptitiously.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could actually see the sweat bubbling on my shirt. But the thing is, like, that amount of sweat that I did there is
No,
the amount of sweat that I always do. Like
right.
I would have
But that
done
was a
under any
controlled
circumstance.
amount of sweat. That's not the worst I've
Yeah,
ever seen
yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah. I actually scoured the internet looking for people who were sweating on speakers. The only one that came close and it was pretty bad was Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, Google Mark Zuckerberg and sweating. At
Like
one
in
point, he's on.
Congress or
No, he's on stage at the. This is early days of Facebook, but he's on stage. I think it's Y Combinator, and he's doing an interview. He's being challenged on some decisions that Facebook is making. He's sweating so much to the point he has to take off his hoodie. He has
Mm.
to pause the live interview. I'm sorry. He stands up, takes off his hoodie, wiping his sweat. I'm like, this is the closest that I've
Wow.
ever seen to me. This guy's a billionaire. So I was like, but he sweat half as much as I would.
Mhm.
And so I actually carry the fear of losing my train of thought, sweating and all that stuff, shaking. Like on stage, even on comedy, for the first couple of years, I couldn't even hold the mic because my hand would shake so much.
Mhm.
During my events, I can't hold the paper and pencil because my hand would
That's right.
shake too much. I remember one
That's
time I
right.
took an iPad and I was like, I got to put this iPad down and people are just going to see me shaking this thing. I got to move my hands just so I don't get nervous. So it took me a while to get used to it. But the thing that got me was how the feeling of surviving afterwards and realizing, oh, I bombed and it wasn't that bad, or I did it and I could do it pretty well. Surviving it, to me, that is the medicine you need, the inoculation that you need, the vaccination that you need against future fear. Surviving fearful things and then really diving into and paying attention to that you survived. I feel like some people go through fearful things, but then they never want to think about it again.
Mhm.
But I go through it and I
Well,
go, look, I'm still here.
I found that in my 30s, this is where when it hit me that I look back onto high school,
Wait,
let's say.
hang on. Pause that just 1 second. Sorry, because I don't want to stop you there. But just because these comments, Joanne says, "You sweat driving in a car." Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. I sweat watching TV shows. I sweat
Sure.
like all the time. And then who's this? Diane says, "I sweat sitting down doing nothing." I'm right there with you, Diane. Right there with you. Somebody says, "Hey, when you want to go out and just sit down, do nothing?" I go, "I'm going to be sweating. I'm sorry, I don't want to do that." I'm sorry for interrupting you, Tom. Go ahead.
No. So in my 30s is when I it really started hitting me that I would look back onto my high school days, and I could hardly remember what it was like. But I do remember that there were moments in there where I thought, my life is over. I'm so embarrassed. This is horrible. I can't believe this is occurring. I remember that must have occurred, but I have zero recollection of any really. I mean, once I remember having a pimple and it popped onto somebody, right?
Oh yeah.
But I couldn't even remember the embarrassment I felt. I just meant like I must have felt embarrassed or whatever. And so it's really very soothing to think, oh, eventually this is going to fade into the blackness of time. And the more I think about the more I think about death all the time, as like it's super soothing to think about a death. And like I just remind myself, oh, like I definitely 100% will die, and this thing will not matter, and or it won't matter like if some bad outcome happened, and if it does succeed, I'm going to be very proud of myself. Or even if I fail, I'm going to be very proud of myself that I did it. And on my
Mhm.
deathbed, I'll feel that way. I'll be like, well, I did that thing. I did that thing. In fact, all the near death experiences I've ever had, it's only the when I think back, like, oh, I should have done that thing. Oh, I should have done that thing. Like in the moment where I'm gonna hit by the car, in the moment where I'm falling on the ground, or in that moment, I'm just like, I'm happy about the things I did, and I'm like, oh, I should have tried to do that. And then when I survive the experience, I go, okay, it's not dying.
How many near
It's
death experiences have you had?
for
Oh my god.
yeah, yeah.
And you're not counting stand-up comedy.
No, oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah.
You see your
Uh,
life flash before
but
your
it's
eyes.
nice to be able to associate that anxiety feeling with just reframe it as I just say reframe it, like really reframe it as excitement. And now it feels more like a if I feel this fear of something, I know at least there's something there to pay attention to,
Mhm.
because I don't worry about hard things that I'm not interested in doing. Like even if I have to do them, I'm not like worried about them. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, okay, this is hard thing. It sucks, but I'm not like, oh, I really wish this goes well. I only feel that feeling if it's something I actually care about.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, other than stand-up comedy, trading stocks is teaches you about that. Like in the same way that laughter in the crowd is instant feedback, losing money is instant feedback,
That hurts
and
a lot more too.
hurts. No, it hurts the same. It hurts the
Really?
same. Yeah, it's just like bombing on
Well, it
stage.
hurts
Just
other people. It hurts the people that you're connected to. So it.
well, what hurts is that you think as you're doing, you go, "I'm making a good decision." Like you think you are, and then the bad thing happens. You go, "Oh, I didn't really. I didn't think it. If I had thought this through more, then I would have succeeded." I can see. I can see, like, I go, oh, should I do this? I made the choice that was more like fear of missing out, and then it goes badly, and I go, but I know that choice was bad.
Uh huh.
Why
Uh
did I
huh.
do that? Why did I go in that way? And it really helps course correct you, course correct you, course correct you. So, you know, what? This is one of the reasons that that fear of starting is the main reason I would tell people try stand up comedy once. Like if I
If
had to
you're
give a
inclined.
blanket rule, if you're inclined, but even as a blanket rule, like I go stand up comedy if you're not, then karaoke if you're not, then spoken word that if you're not, something that requires you to
Improv
say
or
something
yeah.
that you care about, improv, something you care about in public, because tell me that that's not an invaluable experience, even if you do it once. Tell me that's not something that teaches you. Okay, I did the hard thing. Wipe the sweat off your brow. It's gone. People don't hold it against you, and then you can move on. It really, after I started doing stand-up comedy, dealing with clients was like way easier. Way, 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 way easier. When you're on stage and you forget your joke, and you got 3 minutes left, and you're like, I can't, I don't even, I don't even know what the rest of the thing this I was supposed to say is. Like, it makes other
It's
things
funny.
really.
It's funny because we often go to comedy as an example, and it just puts into perspective because for us, comedy is still something that we're working on. Whereas the other things that we do in our lives, right? Other speaking that we do, like if I have to get up to do a motivational speech,
Simple.
I I, I don't even think about it. I don't lose any
Right.
sleep about it.
If I have to
Blah
talk to a
blah
client,
blah.
if I have to do a training, I don't even blink an eye. I remember that used to just keep me up at night, and now it's like,
Absolutely, we
I'll do it
started
now if you
together.
want me to. I'll do it right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You can roll me out of a bed, out of a deep sleep, and I can give you 2 hours of solid
That's
motivational
right.
content, and it's all good. Whereas before, like the 8 years leading up, it was just miserable. Like, what am I going to say? And all these notes, and I can't remember. And it would take me half an hour to say something that I could say it in 5 minutes. Like, it was all over the place. But that's where experience. I mean, is there anything that can beat experience? And so, if fear stops you from getting experience, that fear has got to go. You got to weigh the priorities here and realize, I have to gain experience if I ever want to do away with this fear. Because what I learned, and I learned this in high school when it came to, I was so deathly afraid. Like people don't even get it. Like people see me, I go, I'm an introvert. I don't like people. They're like, bull crap, whatever, whatever.
That's right.
I go, I know you're seeing me in my
What you're
element.
doing now is the opposite of what you never wanted to do anything
Totally
that was in
unnatural
front
to
of
me.
other people. Yeah.
Absolutely. I remember in high school, we'd have to do our oral presentations. Okay. And in school, I'd be like, excuse me, we'd have to do what? Oh, an oral presentation. I go, how much is this worth for my grade? It's 30%. I'll set it for 70%. I'll get 70%. I'm not doing this. Like, I don't care. I don't care to get 100 in this class. I'm not doing that. So I just skip over all my presentations all the way to college. You go, how much is this worth? It's like, it's worth 40% of your grade. I'm going to pass the class
Right.
without this. Okay, I'm gonna nail everything else. I'm not
Right.
doing this. And what I realized, but there were times I did the oral presentation, because I'm a masochist or a sadist, but I'm a sadist towards myself. And I realized the times that the oral presentation went the worst was when I wasn't prepared, which is often.
That's right.
I wasn't prepared. And I never like preparing for things I don't care about. So picking the things to care about, that's very important in regular life. But when it came to school, I didn't care about this stuff, and so I didn't prepare. And same thing with motivational speaking, same thing with everything else. If I wasn't prepared or if I didn't feel prepared, right, those two things, I have to be prepared and feel prepared, then the fear is there, and it was overwhelming, and it was hard to deal with. And so the fear and the embarrassment and the shame, all those things like revealed to me my greatest weakness, was being unprepared. And once I made that my mission, so when it comes to motivational speaking, it's all I think about. It's almost all, like 99% of what I think about if I'm not watching it. Even if I'm watching a TV show or movie, I'm thinking, hey, how could I use this in order to help me to
That's
talk
right.
to other people?
That's exactly right.
I'm always thinking about it because I
This is the
realize.
importance of value
Mhm.
because you ever you used to watch a tech crunch all the time, right?
Yeah.
These people pitch in new apps, new services, or whatever. And isn't it interesting when you hear the elevator pitch, and their elevator pitch is not clear and does not provide? You go, okay, what is the problem? This does this thing solve? And it's so interesting how you could have entrepreneurs, people with money or whatever, who are talking about a thing, and it's like, well, you didn't get to what this thing solved. You're telling me a bunch of people are using it. You tell me the adoption rate of this. You tell me how nice the interface is, but you're not telling me what this actually solved. Do you know the value that you're bringing? If you know what the value you're bringing is, which is say, what is the problem that you're talking about and how you're addressing that problem, even if just provide information on it. If you know that, then you can deal with your nervousness and you'll muddle your way through because you're not in the moment trying to find why you care about what it is, right?
Hmm.
Like I was watching Peter Schiff and Mike Green debate on Real Vision about gold and Bitcoin and blah, 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 and money and all that. And one person made it. Mike Green made a comment to Peter Schiff, and clearly Peter Schiff was flustered in the moment because the person's
Wait, who?
argument.
Michael Saylor? You mean
No, Mike Green is this other guy
Mike
who
Green? Oh, okay, I'm
don't
sorry.
worry
Go
about
ahead.
the details of it. But basically, this person made an argument in the debate, and it clearly floored. Like this person had not thought Peter Schiff had not thought about this idea, and he was sort of flustered, and he had to find his way, sort of like okay, sort of like ignore it and move on to the next thing, which is classic sign of someone who is not necessarily the value he was trying to bring was that he would not waver in his answer, as opposed to what he's arguing is that I've thought about all this and this is the best solution to what you're talking about, but that's not what he really thought. What he really thought was
Hmm.
that I've been saying the same thing for years, so I have to keep saying it. And
Hmm.
so it was very interesting to see him completely off kilter. And I was like, oh, that's the sign of somebody who what they're saying is not it's incongruous with what they're actually believe their what their actually belief is. And
Hmm.
I love that. I love the being able to tell that in somebody. Like someone that could have on stage, they could have a premise for a joke that they haven't flushed out yet, but
Hmm.
like even if they didn't get the joke right, that premise is funny. Like
Hmm.
I get you're laughing because I understand the premise. You could beef this up a lot more. You missed the ending, but the premise was funny. But some people are it's the way they're talking that they think is funny, but they actually have no premise. There's no value. There's no revelation actually there in the joke.
Hmm.
Uh, and what you were saying before, if you know what it is that you're talking about, if you know the purpose of it, if you have the value that you need to offer, even if you're not prepared with everything else, it really shores you up and helps you face this stressful moment of starting something new.
That's one lesson I learned with motivational speaking, where and personal empowerment teaching is that whenever I was parroting other people's talking points, which a lot of speakers do, a lot of
Yeah.
self-help
One
motivational
of the
speakers
best
do.
advice you ever gave me was use different words to explain it. Use the words that you didn't hear before to explain the same idea.
Yeah,
And you're like, "Oh, I could do that." And you're like, "Oh, wait a second. I
that's
gotta
right.
actually form my own idea. I have to get the definitions together and put this all together."
And you have to truly understand what you're talking about with depth in order to come up with the explanation in your own words. That's why in school they tell you, like, in your own words, say this thing, because it's very easy to parrot what someone else is saying. Like I can parrot theories, I can parrot Einstein, I can parrot whatever. But if you ask me 5 questions deep, I don't have the answer to it. I've
Yeah,
seen
you told
speakers.
me once, I love the advice, know 10 times more about what you're talking about
It's
than
Jordan
what you're
Peterson that
saying.
taught me that. Yeah,
Yeah, and you're like, if I can't ask you why 10 times and you can't you don't you get stumped, it's because you haven't thought of it deep enough.
that's right. That's right. That, or you don't understand enough about the world, like your ability to explain. So don't be the explainer. Like
Right.
you shouldn't be here being the explainer. If like I see this in the news reports or interviews or whatever, they'll ask the person a question and they ask a follow up. It's the same thing. Maybe a third follow up and it's the same answer. It's like this person didn't understand your first two things. You don't have a third thing. You can't come up with an analogy on the fly. You can't bring in baseball
That's right.
or hockey pucks or pogs in order to figure out this analogy. Like, if you understand this thing, you should see it mirrored in all aspects of life continuously. You should see it all the time, everywhere. That I do. You can pick any topic, and I could come up with all kinds of examples for the points that I'm trying to
Well,
prove.
because the fundamental truth is that everything is like everything else. And as soon as you realize that you're living in a fractal system, like everything is like everything else, then it's just how do you rotate this subject so that it clicks with this other one, and that makes it clear. I had that idea that I think everything's like everything else, and I would think of a tree. Let me learn as much as I can about a tree, and then everything compared to a tree. And then
Mhm.
that worked fantastically. Like literally, all the subjects I was having trouble with in school, I could understand way better as soon as I compared to a tree. And then it clicked years later compared to myself, to my interest, the way that I behave, to my ups and downs, to my successes and failures. And then it was like a tree that I knew inside out. And then I was like,
Mhm.
oh, now I could match this thing to my ideologies. I can match this thing to my habit processes. I could match this thing to my emotional state. And I had an infinite amount of analogies I can make now on any subject. So,
That's right.
like for me, for one of the things I've been toying around lately is that I really do think that um, one of the one of the things we're seeing right now is that a super organism is being like I like imagining that a super organism of humanity is being created, in which humans are like the cells of a superorganism. And if that were the case, then the divisions of countries that we have on the planet don't make sense anymore. It made sense at the beginning when we were trying to delineate centers of power, right? Tribes against another tribe, nationalities against other nationalities, ideas against other ideas. But if you see it more like a body that we're in, then it makes more sense to divide groups by the things they produce: idea, software, commodities, whatever it is. And so it makes sense to those people in the world provide food, and this place provides knowledge, and this place provides this is an experimental bed for new ideas or whatever it is. And wouldn't it be great to you're moving to a place that's not a country, you're moving for a set of guiding principles and laws that we're here to make this thing. We're here to
Mhm.
mine bauxite. We're here to grow food, and that's what this is. Our whole area. That's what it's all about. Our
Mhm.
provinces work a lot like that, right? Like the plains are where we grow food, where we get oil
It's
and grow
Canada.
food. Yeah, in Canada, Ontario and Quebec is where we economic centers.
And
Vancouver is where we
hydroelectricity too.
exactly. And so having um, an overarching point of view in time and scope or whatever helps lay out things. And I would never have gotten to that if I didn't compare it to myself. I go, okay, how's the world like myself? And then, oh, this is the brain, this is the heart, this is the liver, and it helps to. And so someone can ask me a question, and that I might not have thought of, and go, but how would I think about that? Bitcoin. What's the Bitcoin timer? Bitcoin is like a nervous system in the blood. Okay, I can
38
understand.
minutes. Yeah.
Currency
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
blood system and nervous system. Okay, I can understand that, and then we compare it to that. Anyways,
Well, I like seeing human beings as a super organism because I remember hearing Elon Musk years ago say that the internet was kind of like uh, a nervous system that connected all the parts of the body, and that now, if I stimulate you here, the whole body knows that you've been stimulated here. Whereas in the past, something might have happened in China, you don't know about it, but now something can happen in China, you can find about it
exactly
almost
right.
instantaneously if you even care to know. So we're all connected. One of the ways, and we'll get to hype and. We'll get to scam warning signs in just after this, but in order to defeat fear, in order to not defeat fear, but in order to be able to start despite having fear, right? Fear, getting over fear of starting. One is to have an outline. Okay, whether that's an outline for your life, right? Some type of um, scheduling for your life, some type of life plan you have, whether it's an outline for a book you're writing, whether it's an outline for a speech you're going to give, or some business idea, an elevator pitch, to have an outline. Because I found that externalizing your thoughts and putting them on paper or on a computer, whatever, seeing them externalize reduces your anxiety, because now the picture is clear, you can reference it, and it's you don't have to maintain the image in your head completely, especially if it's complex. So having an outline is extremely important for creating a skeleton to lay your thoughts on, that will be external, that you can see, that will make you feel safer. Once I started writing out all my thoughts and my chunks, whether it's in jokes, all my chunks out, or the keywords out, or when I'm planning my speeches and I'm figuring out, okay, here are the skeleton of my speech. Now my speech becomes something I'm less afraid of, because I don't have to remember the whole thing at once. But also, what's really important is a connection to your future self. You brought this up, Tom. This idea that what you're doing now is going to help this future version of who you are. And the more you're connected, the more you see this future version of yourself as a real thing, not an abstract concept, but a real thing. You are the future version of your past self. You're experiencing it right now, and you're experiencing the benefit of all the effort that you had put in the past. So it's not abstract. It's not just some idea. There is a
That
future
past
version of
you
yourself
is thinking about you right now.
right
The
now
way it
in the past.
feels to be your future self is how you feel right now.
Absolutely right. And connecting yourself to that future self, connecting, seeing yourself always as not one person, but at least two people: who I am now and who I'm becoming. And that every single action that you take, every pain, every sling and arrow, every embarrassment moment, every fear that you challenge, everything that you do, every effort that you put is helping your future self to some way, in some degree. And so if you see it, then I am willing to suffer for someone I love. I'm less willing to suffer for myself. I go, why suffer? I could just make it easy, and then I don't have to be bothered. But if it's for somebody else, then I really want to. Well, this somebody else is me in the future, right? Me in the future. And if I have a vision for who I want to be, if I have a vision for the way I want the world to be, then I'm willing to go through fear and embarrassment. That is the only thing. That is why I choose to do things that are hard, that are world changing, that are like, hey, there are lots of things that I could do that I could achieve success with. Okay. There are books I could write, there are other things I can do. What I want to do is get millions of people together in order to change things. What I want to do is, I'm like, if I'm going to do something that's going to face my fear, that's going to leave me with embarrassment, that I'm going to have to push out of my brain as I sleep at night, it better be something that's worthwhile to me. It better be something that matters to me. Right.
Well,
And
especially if I'm going to fail at something, I want to fail at what, man, I really tried to reach that star. I
that's
really
right.
tried to go for it. Like
That's
I
right.
whiffed it, but I mean, not a lot of people catch the star. So I mean, I,
That's
I
right.
tried. Like, did you try? I tried.
Yeah.
I tried to
There
do
is
my
a sense
best.
of pride for that.
Mhm.
So connecting with your future self is really important. So I visualize my future self. I talk to my future self. I'll write letters to my future self. I'll do things for my future self. And if it seems weird to you, just think about this. Think about going on vacation somewhere or taking a trip somewhere. Well, what do you do before your trip, the day before, whatever? You pack your bags. If you're smart, you pack your bags and you put them by the door, right? And then when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to do that anymore. You go, oh, thank you so much, past self. You've made today a lot easier. I know what it's like to pack your bags the day of your trip. Like, that's no fun. But you think before you go, thank you so much for doing that effort that you didn't want to do yesterday, past Peter, because today my life is easier.
Like
Like
actually thank it. Like actually spend the time to be like as if someone else had packed your bags.
you are constantly interacting with your future self. And if you make that relationship real and concrete, just like you would have the relationship with the adult you hope your child to be, right? You don't go, well, my kid's not adult, they're five, I'm just going to treat them like they're five. You're like, well, no, like, you got to treat them for the person they're going to be, and you have to continuously see this older version of who they are, or else you're always going to be just in the immediate. Like, sure, I'll give you the ice cream cone. Sure, I'll let you stay up, and sure. Well, now you're going to create a terrible human being as time goes forward. In
But
that
even
same
your
way,
partner,
yeah,
like you'll do something for your partner and you go, but you won't do it for yourself. But if you see yourself also as your partner, then it makes it easier to do.
That's right.
I find it very useful also when I'm talking to another person to talk, like you just said for your kid, to talk to them that way. Like one thing I actively do is that when I'm speaking to my wife, I actively take moments to say, "Oh, I imagine her old, and I imagine loving that old person too." Like after we've gone through all these experiences, and after we've aged, and we've settled down, and our life is less dynamic, I imagine myself even then being with her and going, ah, yes. So that way I say yes to her now, and I say yes to her in the future, and I'm not like, it's not going to creep up on me. And then it also makes me go, oh, this thing I would have put off to next year, let me do it now, because I want us to have that as a memory. Like, and so it makes sense to, okay, let's do that now, because later on we'll be able to reap the
Okay.
benefits of thinking back on it. And to make decisions based on, I want to be able to think back on this, is it's really thinking fourth dimensional, Marty. It's really quite a trip.
One of my driving motivators, my motivating factors, is my deathbed. I want to die well. I want to try to die well. I don't want to die and be like, oh my God, I need another 100 years in order to feel fulfilled. No. I feel like one of the reasons people do that is because they don't live their life truly day to day. It's like so much of their life is filled with filler. They're not filled with challenges. They're not filled with things that make them feel like they're alive. Like there are days we go to bed and you're like, wow, today was a day. Like
Mhm.
I learned a lot. I experienced a lot. I felt a lot. And when you have days like that and weeks like that, you feel time. Like you actually feel it to the point where, like, I'm already at the level where I don't feel like I haven't lived enough life. Like I feel
That's
like
right.
I've done as much as people tend to do in their life. Like not as much as Elon Musk, but I feel like my life is rich. It's filled with stuff because I've been present and doing things in those moments. Whereas in the past, I used to go through a whole year and be like, the year's done now. Like
Exactly.
what happened?
That's exactly right.
What happened
Peter, I
during a
made
year?
this one mistake. Every during high school, I would do one thing for the entire year in high school. So I would read a book every month, or dress completely in black, or whatever it is. And one year, I decided I want to see how much I can sleep. Is it possible for me to sleep as much as possible? Biggest mistake of Peter. I got really good at sleeping, and I blinked through spring. I blinked through summer, and it was like by the time that because I would start in September, so by the time spring came around, I was really good at it, and it was like I blinked, and it was school again in September. I was like, I
uh,
am never doing that again. Let me see how much I can stay up. And that's where I learned about was it Leonardo da Vinci sleeping 20 minutes every 3 hours, whatever. I did that as much as I could. I was like, I'm making up for time. What a terrible idea! That was such a mistake.
sleep is important, but sleeping through your life, I think, you really don't want to do that.
Well, now you'll hear people be like, "Oh, what'd you do on Saturday? Oh, it was so great. I slept until 1 o'clock in the afternoon." Are you out of your mind? You're awake for all the tedious parts of your life, and you're sleeping through all the free time. What the
Well, I
hell are you
feel like
talking
people do
about?
that because if you work 9 to 5 and most of the hours during the day are not yours and you don't care about, and you're filled with all that stress or miscontent or not feeling satisfied, the escape, the relief that you get from sleep, like it's I can clearly see it. Like I see why people like sleep. If your life sucks or is not really filled with much, those you might like sleep. Now I'm not talking about sleeping your normal hours. Like I'm not talking about 8 hours sleep. I'm talking about people who like sleep as an activity.
That's right.
Like, oh, what'd you do all
What
Saturday?
did
I
you do?
slept all day
Sleep.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, is this like a unique thing? No, it's what I aim to do every Saturday.
Well,
You're
when
like,
someone tells
so
me that, I'd be like, "Do you want to do something together? Like, is there something?" Because oh
I
my
don't know. Are
god,
you
Jesus
depressed?
Christ!
That's what I ask. Are you
Yeah,
depressed?
yeah.
But it's like that. But yes, connection with your future self. So I ask myself questions like I visualize my future self. I ask myself, I outline what I want for my future self. It's really important to have some vision. The moment you set an intention for your mind goes to work on it. It's one of the reasons why you're like, oh, where are my keys? Where are my keys? I can't, or I'm trying to remember this person's phone number or their name or something, and then you give up on it. And you're doing the dishes, and then it pops in. It's because your brain's always going through that file cabinet. So giving your mind a mission is very important. It's one of the reasons we set homework here. Giving your mind a mission, something to do, keeps it in RAM, it keeps it activated. and it makes it so that the decisions you're making are more tailored towards this guiding light, this outline that you have for yourself. So having some type of vision, detailing who you want to be, really helps, because then you realize, in order for me to get from here to there, once you outline it, you realize there's gonna be embarrassment. So
Mhm.
then when opportunity comes that leads to embarrassment, you go, well, of course, this is exactly what I expected. I've never
That's
done it
right.
before. I'm totally uncomfortable with it. This is moving me towards what I want. But when you're just moving forward, like you can't even see further than your nose and go, hey, here's an embarrassing situation. You're like, I'm not going to do this. Because all of life is just here right now. I'm not going to do it.
Well, it's like going on a
Then
roller
you miss out.
coaster and not having looked at the roller coaster. So you're just strapped in, and then you're like, it's like, take a look at what. Okay, it's going to be rough over there, and
That's
it's going
right.
to tick,
That's
tick,
right.
tick, and then okay, and there, and then and then my expectation is that I'll be over here. All right, it's a little bit easier to deal with than having your drink spiked with LSD when you're not realizing it and going on some trip. I heard
All
that on
right.
a podcast. I was like, what a nightmare.
I would. What kind of sicko would go on a roller coaster without looking at the roller coaster? Oh
Exactly,
man.
but that's what people do when they go through their life. They're like, I'm going to embark on this thing, and they haven't looked ahead and be like, okay,
Mom
what
did that
kind of
one time. Mom did that
what?
one time.
Really
Mom
go on a
did
roller
the
coaster without
time.
looking?
So our brother, our older brother, he we're at the amusement park, and he tells mom, "Hey mom, come on the boomerang, come on
Oh,
the
right.
boomerang." Well, mom is like, whatever, like I don't know, and she goes, "Oh, the boomerang, oh fine." I'm like, mom, what are you doing? Well, it's fine. I go, mom, this thing it goes backwards. You know that, right? Well, no, it's fine. Didn't even look at it. Didn't even like we already know she hates this types of stuff.
That's
She
right.
goes
That's
on
right.
it. Terrible experience. She comes off. She's like, I hate it.
Peter, we
I hate
hear
it.
her.
Everything.
Hers is the one voice we hear for a mile around, screaming, screaming. I was like, "That's my mom's voice. I'll recognize that anywhere. I heard it in the
Oh
womb.
man.
I recognize it here." Jesus Christ. Yeah.
I love that. Speaking about recognizing things, just before we move forward to this last point, Sam's giving us 3 hearts here. Thanks, Samantha Bartlett, for the love. Thank you to everybody else who's watching. Really appreciate you giving us attention. You folks don't know this, but and I don't even think Tom can see this, but I see the number of people who are watching, and it goes up and down. And there is a level of embarrassment or whatever kind of feeling where you're like, why do we lose those people? Like, why are they gone? You know. But had I not gone through everything I did before, I'd be sweating buckets watching this number. I'd have to hide the
Sure.
number. But with perspective, you realize these things are easily are easy to get over. Sorry. Warning signs, scam warning signs, Tom. So you were talking to me about hype versus value, right? So scam in this context is a product or service that isn't offering real value. Do I have that right?
Well, a scam is where they're someone's trying to extract value from you, something that's actually worth something, your time, your effort, your money, um, uh, attention is what I mean by time. They're trying to
Mhm.
extract this from you, and the trade is uneven. They're getting the better part of the deal, right? In any type of transaction, you want as best as possible for it to be an even trade, right? You're trading money in order to get food, and they're happy to give you this food. It's like, yeah, this is useful to you, and you expect that the money that you're paying for it is commensurate with the effort that it took for them to make it and the profit, right? If you found out that if you just found out all of a sudden, if we all found out that the grocery store is charging 10,000% more than what it costs for them to make it, we would be livid, right? We would be beyond livid. But if we found out they were losing money on every transaction, you'd be like suspicious, like what the hell? How can like you want it to be an even transaction? And
Mhm.
so in scam, when it comes to businesses, basically just boils down to you're trying to extract value and you're not given something that's of commensurate value. Now, here's the thing. Ugh, we have this dumbing down of expectations in our society where it's almost like scam techniques are glorified. One of the things I did over the last couple of years was to categorize all the different tactics that marketing companies would use. That as a marketer, I would categorize all the tactics that I would use in order to gain visibility for a particular product or get more sales for a particular product. And once I started categorizing them and analyzing them, I realized that 95% of the tactics were variations of a confidence game where I was either over promising and under delivering,
That's a
where I
con
was
game, you're saying, right?
Yeah, con game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I rather call it a confidence game because
Only because people might not know. So confidence
oh
game
yes,
almost sounds
yes,
good.
yes, exactly a con game. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what you're trying to do is a lot of people think they need to come out with a bang. That what they're trying to do is to get as many people to buy the thing as possible because then they get the money, then they get the numbers up, and that starts the ball rolling, and then it'll snowball into more people coming in because they think people are coming in based on other people coming in, right? Other people are there. Other people are in a long line. So you've seen this before. You've heard about this before. A club or a restaurant will not let people in to build up a line in front. So
Yes.
the people go, oh, people are there. Let me go into this line and because this must be a cool place to be in. And then you get in, and you're like, this is what I was waiting for, right? But they're happy with it because they got your ticket money right at the door. And
Yeah.
so this is a classic type of let's build up what we look at. Let's build up the hype a bit so that we get more people in. But that's unsustainable, right? Eventually, you get through all the early adopters, all the people who will do that first, who will be tricked by it first, and
Mhm.
then you don't have the value to match what's actually there, right? A club that does that enough, people eventually go, oh yeah, they just make you wait. It's not really worthwhile. Let me go to something else. Whereas if you didn't try to build up that line and you focused on that the club or restaurant or whatever, that the experience was so good that people wanted to come, sure, that line wouldn't be there on day one, but eventually that line would come and it would be justified, right? Now, if I go to a line and it's a line in front of a Krispy Kreme donut shop, I know it's legit.
They're
I
giving
know
away free Krispy Kreme donuts.
no, that people are like, I don't care. I'll wait half an hour in this line for Krispy. Have you tried a Krispy Kreme donut?
That's
Like,
what.
I'm
Yeah.
not under any illusion. I will wait, and I will wait to get in. I know there might not be any donuts left by the time I get in, but I'm going to risk it. I want this freaking donut. Nobody is waiting in a Krispy Kreme line for a donut because they're wondering if Krispy Kreme is worthwhile. The things they're talking about in the line is how good Krispy Kreme donuts are, how good it was last time, how much they're going to buy, so they have some, how they're going to give it to other people. That's what the lines are like at Krispy Kreme donut. And so, but people don't want to because of they've heard so many cases where people didn't get that initial thing or launched and it didn't get the initial thing and they failed or they spent a long time not visibly succeeding and they don't want that or they took out a lot of debt in order to start the process and they don't have a lot of time. They got to build this up in order to make it forward.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
you get we're in this age right now that Susan Jacoby a well-known author of the age of unreason talks about where we're in this dumbed down age where the way we talk about things, the way we approach things are all like we've integrated a bunch of low expectations and scam vernacular in our day to day. So, for example, you used this word previously, content, to describe videos that we're making. Right now, the reason content is such a disappointing word to me is that content. I actually only realized this recently that when you're describing the output that someone makes as content, you're saying that it's fungible with all other references to content. Fungible means that it's equally exchangeable. So if I have an ounce of gold and you an ounce of 24 karat gold and you have an ounce of 24 karat gold, it doesn't matter where you got your gold. Your gold is equal to my gold, and we can exchange it with no harm. You can't tell from the gold where it came from. If I have a barrel of oil and you have a barrel of oil, it's fungible. If I have an apple, you have an apple, it's fungible. So this is what we call a commodity. A commodity is something that is created that's as equal as anything else. So, for example, your attention has been commoditized for TV shows because they don't care who's watching the TV show; they just care that people are watching it, right?
Mhm.
And so when someone refers to their YouTube video, let's say, or an article that they wrote or what they posted on social media, whatever, as content, what they're saying is that there's no difference between my stuff and someone else's.
A views of
Which
you.
or content is content. That the amount of effort I put into mine, I could have put 6 hours of effort in order to make my video, and you could have put 5 minutes in your effort in order to make a video, but it's all content. So it's the same. Your video is the same thing as my video, and it diminishes what it is. It's as if you were to call. art content. Picasso, that's content. Jackson Pollock painting, that's content.
The Louvre is filled with
Louvre is full of
content.
content. They have really good content here. It's like, no, they're not interchangeable. One Van Gogh is not equal to one Monet. It's not fungible, and so to refer to it as content is to diminish it, and it makes people. It's like how clickbait articles work and newspapers and all kinds of things where they're just like, let's churn it out. We need articles per minute. They're not looking for quality, right? And so we have a lot of words like that in our vernacular. A spin used to be a term used that described when the news was lying to you or when PRs was lying to you. They're trying to spin it into a good light. How can we spin this oil spill into we're environmentally conscious? We've really improved our BP really improved our environmental standards over the last 2 years because of that disaster that they had inside the ocean. It's like, no, that's bad. What you're doing, the spin is a bad thing. You're not actually solving the problem. Or you'll have things on the news now, the spin room, where they come and they're like, oh, this is a spin room where we decode what politicians are saying. Why are you accepting that politicians are lying? Why aren't you be like, they're lying, they're lying, they're lying? We have to hold them to the fire. It's like, oh, now we're going to decode what they're saying in the spin room. Let's take it away, and they'll break you down.
This is what they really mean. This is what they really
Exactly.
mean. So
Exactly.
we can rest assured now because we know what they
Exactly.
really.
We know
That
this is code for what it is. Exactly. And so hype is one of these terms. Hype was a word that was short for, it's short for hyperbole, but also for hyper in the early 20th century used to mean someone who is deliberately falsely exaggerating. Like it's something that a scam artist would do. They would They would be a hyper because they're hyping up a thing to sell more of it, knowing that it's not worthwhile. And now we use hype as if it's a good thing. Oh, there's so much hype behind this thing, we should really get behind it. When that used to be one of the words used for a scam. And one of the things for hype is that if you buy something, I mentioned this in the previous video, if you buy something based on hype, then you are not buying it for the value that it provides to you. Or rather, the value that it provides to you isn't what it says on the can. It's that other people are impressed by what that you bought it. Axe body spray is a great example of this. People, because it was new and interesting, I can't believe remember the commercials were all about people would spray this on you and girls. You would spray this on you and girls would run up to you and hug you and kiss you or Red Bull gives you wings. That people loved the commercials for it, and it was cool to buy the product because you were associated with the commercials and not because the product was any particularly good. And so whenever you have this hype, whenever you hear this type of hype language, content, spin, hype, what's one of the other ones? Anyways, whenever you hear these terms, you have to think to yourself, either the person is deliberately trying to promote this beyond the actual value that it offers, or they don't know they're using language that promotes it beyond what it offers. Anyone who's providing something of actual value, you don't hear them talk this way, right? An entrepreneur or an inventor, someone who creates something, they're telling you this is what this does and it solved this problem in this way. These are the benefits. These are some of the shortcomings. This is what we're working on for the future. They're not talking about the hype of it. Oh, promoters do that. Infomercials do that. People who actually have something of value never speak that way. And so when you hear those words, stay away.
It's funny because often when I look at headlines or news article headlines about Bitcoin, they'll say things like, it looks like the hype for Bitcoin is going down, or it's like, well, why? You should be talking about the value of Bitcoin. Like, exactly. You think Bitcoin is no longer a good investment because the hype is down?
That's right.
That's like saying, I'm trying to think of a product service. So many of those things use hype now these days. But you should be commenting on the actual value of Bitcoin, not saying, well, because people are no longer interested in it, suddenly it's no longer a good thing. Well, what if the hype for electricity went away? Like, oh, looks like people are no longer talking about electricity, right. So it's no good anymore. It's part of our culture to care more about the hype for something than about, like, people say, oh, this movie should go movie. People are really excited about it. who's the director? Who are the actors? Who wrote the script? Like
That's
we
right.
used to talk about those things. Now it's like, oh, everybody's excited.
How
Oh, I'm
popular
really
is it?
happy I
How
got to
many
see the movie
viewers?
because everybody's talking about it. You're like,
Exactly.
everybody. No, I don't want to see it because everybody's talking about it. I want to see it because it's great, and then everybody talks about it.
So smart money in the investing world, you call smart money because they get in before there's any hype, or after the hype is all gone, and they are
Hmm.
able to actually judge the value. So that's where smart money goes. Dumb money, and this is exactly what they call it. Dumb money follows the hype. And so when they see the headlines and they see the hype, they go, great. Now I wait. Then the bubble will crash from the hype, which it always does. You can't have hype forever, right? And then when it crashes, you go, is there any value here? Let me scrape it up on pennies on the dollar. It's
I heard
really,
that when Bitcoin corrected at 25%, I'm pretty sure someone said, "Okay, all the dumb money is gone now. This is
that's exactly
great.
right.
We've cleared it out. Now
Exactly.
we can move forward." Everybody who got in thinking, "Oh, Bitcoin is going to be at $1 million by Friday,"
Exactly.
though
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
gone. They've been
Yeah.
demoralized. It's fine. Now this is the true price of Bitcoin. Now
Well,
we
I
can
was
move
telling
forward.
you
All the smart money come in now.
when I was when I hear that Bitcoin's been flat for the last month, it hasn't done anything. I go, great. That's fantastic. That's exactly what I want to hear. Wait, no one's talking about it and it just stays the way it is? It didn't go down? Because hype, if no one talks about it, goes down.
Crashes.
Something, it goes down in value. If no one's talking about it and the price hasn't moved, you're like, mwah, could not be more validating.
It's like Safe
Like,
Moon.
exactly. Well, Ethereum, that's going up now. What did I tell you I'm doing Ethereum? Ethereum, I hear all-time highs. I go, great, I sell some. All-time high is great. I sell some. And the day I hear is like, is this the end of Ethereum? I'm going to be, great. Now it's time to buy back a bunch of Ethereum. Fantastic.
Chasing away all that dumb money.
Yeah.
All right,
I know we want to
good.
wrap up here, but I just want to mention, like, I just want to bring it back because I'm going to be mentioning Rally.io a few times. And I've just been astonished by the value of these Rally creator coins, the good Rally creator coins, how they're just going up in value. I just looked at one. The item that I got went up 166% in value. That means if you had $1, now you had $2 and 66 cents, which is an amazing gain. People are happy in the stock market if it goes up 20% in the year. This went up 166% in 2 weeks. And my favorite part about it, Peter, my favorite part about it is that no one's talking about it. If no one's talking about a thing and it goes up 166% based on the value that people are experiencing inside the community that the rally is creating, then I go, there's something in here I need to pay attention to. Because it means when people do realize, right, they'll hear about it when it goes like, did you hear this asset went up 1,000%, 10 times the money? That's when they're going to come in, right? And I want to be
Yeah,
there
that's right.
beforehand.
That's right.
And so I'm sitting there all night. I get in a small amount. I don't have to be chasing anything. If it takes off, great. If it doesn't, it's steadily going up. I couldn't, Peter. 166% is nothing to sneeze at. It's free money. It's printing money. And so that to me is a great. So I have. Remember, I told you I have a list of like 15 people creator coins that I bought. I sell all the ones that the price are going down because I use that as a barometer for value. And the ones that go up more, now I go, okay, let me see what these people are doing. How are they doing
Mhm.
the YouTube videos? How are they engaging the community? How are they creating value? And it's a great educational experience to be like, how is value being created in this online space? And so use that in your, you're interested in a product that you want to buy and they're publicly traded. Find out what's their stock price. How has it been moving over time? Use as an exercise. Do I like this sneaker? Do I like Netflix? Do I want check it out? What's their stock price been doing? And go like, let me use the price as a barometer for the thing. Are there headlines about this in the news? Like, is it going up on headlines? Is it not going to? Like, use that as your as data to inform you is this a good time or not. Real estate in Canada, real estate is the highest. Not only is the highest it's ever been, it's the fastest increasing real estate prices, I think, in the world. Which to me
Wow.
says, great. Now is not the time to buy. The time to buy is when I hear, will the Canadian market ever recover? Like, people are selling their houses in droves. That's when I want to buy. Buyers can't be
So
found.
So scam warning signs for you is the language that's being used, the hype. That's the warning sign for you
Well,
that
I'm trying to create
something's.
shorthands for people. Like, there's all kinds of underlying things that you can pay attention to. But if you pay attention to the language, right?
Mhm.
The language either tells you that someone's lying to you, or they're not paying attention to what they're saying, which is worse, which is far worse. And Safe Moon, which is the cryptocurrency we've been talking about, I'm going to be doing a video about them on my channel, Sacred Profit. What a great case study of people who have no idea that they are selling hype and they think they're actually providing value. It's
Tom
so
Tom
good.
goes off on safe food. It goes off on it. That's really funny. All right, let's wrap this thing up. You have some homework for people here today. Want them to read a book.
Yes. So, if you want to get a sense of this idea of the dumbing down of culture based on language, and also the idea of salons, this is where I first heard about salons. What we're trying to do with Jumpstart, this sort of like paying attention to people and get education through osmosis. Susan Jacoby, this American author, wrote a great book called "The Age of American Unreason," and I would highly recommend you go pick up the book. You can get on Audible or what have you. Very easy read, and introduces you to this old school conservative way of thinking that is super practical in a world where you don't know if what you're dealing with is hyper value. So that's the homework I would suggest. Go read that book. It'll take you a week, and you'll be the better for it.
I read it by accident on vacation. I had to grab a book real quick to go on vacation, and I grabbed it, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" But reading it was pretty edifying. It gave me some perspective on history, the importance of language. It taught you a lot of the manipulation that's going on. It was a very educational book. Um, Alex here says talking about hype is super hype. I like that. I like that. I like that. Yeah, that's right. One way to deal with content is to make content about content. You know, that's a good way
Super
to
meta.
like super meta piggyback on other people's stuff. Their stuff is garbage. Let me tell you why. Like and subscribe. All right. This has been a lot of fun, Tom. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everybody else who's watching, everybody who participated, whether you're watching live or after the fact. We really appreciate it. If you want to be a part of our Telegram group to chat with us and do audio chats, head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/happy for change. Become a patron for $5 a month, US a month. You can get access to us. It's a lot of fun. We're producing a lot of content right now. The live shows are available after the fact, but shortly only the live shows will be available for free. If you want the recorded version of it, both audio and video, you'll have to become a patron. So now's a good time for you to head over to patreon.com/slash happy for a change. Make sure to go over to YouTube because we're not going to be streaming on Facebook forever. This actually might be the last one we stream onto Facebook directly. So head over to youtube.com/slash happy for a change. It really helps us out. We really appreciate it. We want to get those numbers up. Subscribe to us there. Hit that little bell so you know when we go live and when we upload content. We upload a ton of content. It's not even close. If you think we've been on a lot, you don't even know what's coming. We got a lot more coming for you. We're hoping to get a rally token ourselves. You're going to be able to invest in Happy for a Change, and your tokens will go up in value. You're going to get all kinds of perks. This is just the beginning, folks. So if you're excited, if you're prepared for the hype, warning signs, head over to youtube.com/slash happy for a change and subscribe there. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. My name is Peter Hartman.
I'm Tom Hartman,
And you're
and this
watching
is your
Jumpstart
life.
Live. No, we're not doing that, Tom. We're not doing that.